Welcome back, everyone, to the British Latino Network podcast. I'm excited today to announce that we have Daniela Arroyo Olson, who's a co-founder of Ecofye. It's really good to have you, Daniela. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. And yeah, how are you doing? How's everything with you?
Thank you so much for having me, Diego. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited when you first messaged me. I think it's an amazing initiative, and I'm glad to be part of it. I'm good. London is sunny, so it's nice. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I've been good. Yeah, London's sunny now, so I think everyone's starting to be a bit more cheerful. Everyone's getting their t-shirts out. So yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, no, I mean, I was really interested in the work that you do um, on several fronts, right? So from different angles. And I think before I get to sort of why I was interested, something that I'd like to maybe ask you is, you started up this company, you're a co-founder. Obviously the work you do is in climate action advisory. I'll allow you to sort of explain it a bit more for the people who don't know. But something I am going to sort of dig in and ask you about is, you went more or less from what I've seen, the undergrad, you done your MSc, and typically after that, more or less people will jump into a professional career. So they'll try and build up their own experience. But you sort of went straight into starting up a company. And for me, that sort of gap between, taking that leap is something that I'm really interested in exploring a bit more. And we're going to do it today. But first of all, I just want to, if you could sort of explain a bit more about what it is you do and sort of your background as well.
Yeah, so I can tell you maybe a little bit of how I started this whole sustainability journey. So it
Mm,
kind of like made more sense also like how come we started straight after doing the masters.
yeah.
So I started getting into sustainability because I started getting into nutrition. And
Mm,
then nutrition led to agriculture. Agriculture, I realized all the ways that was happening, all the emissions. And then I realized I have to do something for the planet. I did for my undergrad business with sustainability because I wanted to change business as usual, which is also still what we do at Ecofye.
mm,
And straight after that master's, sorry, that undergrad, I did a project back in Mexico. So I graduated in 2016, and
mm,
in 2017 there was a big earthquake in Mexico City that destroyed many houses, many buildings. So we
mm,
looked for the community that was affected the most, and then we fundraised $500,000 for us to build 70 houses. This was like my favorite project. I really, really like it.
yeah.
And everything was like with the sustainability principles, like we were pushing for the local economy. We were hiring the same people from the community for them to build their own house. All the sources, all the materials were like sourced locally and all these different things. And after I completed that project, then I got approached by a plastic company, and every single kind of like idea I gave them, they were
Mm,
like, yeah, the budget is not enough. We can't do this with this budget. It's not enough. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do an online course in finance, and I don't think it was enough for me to link it like climate change and the finance that
right.
I knew back then. So I found this like masters, which was amazing, like climate change management and finance at Imperial. I really, really enjoy it. I learned a lot. And soon after the master's finished, well, not soon after the master's finished, I realized that 6 months before the master was completed, a lot of international people, because I'm fully Mexican passport. My
Mm-hmm.
last name is a little bit weird. We don't know where the Olsen comes from, basically. I haven't done DNA test or anything,
Yeah.
but I'm fully Mexican. All the international people were looking for jobs already that sponsor them visas.
Right.
And I remember I found this job that was a financial analyst for renewable energy projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when they offered me the job with the opportunity to sponsor me a visa, I was like, there is something wrong. Like I feel like even though it sounds amazing, I feel like there's something else I should be doing.
Mm,
So I did a summer project with my co-founder, and then we realized that companies were really pushing for sustainability. But sustainability sometimes can be overwhelming because it can mean something for you or it can mean
yeah.
something for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened is like companies dedicate time and resources to this, but often they don't tackle something tangible, or they measure it, or they do whatever they feel it's nice for them to talk about. And then you often see the sustainability department being part of the marketing department, which is okay because they have the role, but it's still like it should be something more. So we
Right.
decided to develop this framework for us to help companies to understand their strengths and weaknesses climate related, because some of these companies will be affected by climate change, like weather events, and all these different things that have been happening. Like you have probably seen in the news in the last few days that every single year gets worse and worse, and also shortages and of raw materials. So we developed this framework and we presented to the university, and it was very nice. They really like it, and they were like, you know what, we're gonna sponsor you the visa, which I think it was amazing, because I would have to say I did not have a plan. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna do whatever my gut feeling tells me, which is very risky, and like it probably gives you a lot of anxiety sometimes when you see like the deadline of your visa coming very soon, and you're
Yeah.
like, I declined the job already. So, and then from then it's just been like an amazing journey. So they sponsored me the visa. We won a few prizes. Now we got a grant also from Innovate UK, where we're developing this platform. What we want to do, what Ecofye really does, is we want to accelerate climate action within the companies. We want to make it accessible. We want to make sustainability accessible for those companies, because sometimes you need to pay me, or you need to pay someone else that is expensive, because we have this specialization, and then you pay for our time. So what we're doing with Ecofye is we're helping SMEs for them to change and implement better practices without them needing to like really compromise resources, because what SMEs have is a super flexible business model. This means like all the changes can be implemented quick and soon, and they like restricted in budget. But now imagine you make them sustainable and greener and all these different things that investors like, then they're gonna get investment easier. They're
Yeah.
gonna get lower interest rates for when they borrow money, and everything that we're doing it through a platform we're developing with the help from the Innovate UK grant. Thank you very much. Amazing. Like it's almost done. It's actually gonna be launched in a month, so we're like super looking forward.
Yeah.
And the reason why we started as soon after we finished the masters is because I don't think we have time to waste. And for me to go into the industry, for me to learn something, it's gonna be super good, right? And it's super important to have experience, but you can get the experience by living the experience, or by, I think you can read a lot in order to forecast and like mitigate the learning curve, which
Yeah.
we're doing. So in the platform, we're gonna do some machine learning implementation. I took a machine learning course, because we want to make sure that what we decide it's right, and we want to make sure that it's not going to cost us a lot of money. And any other question that we have, we just call people.
Yeah.
It's scary because you're trying your best. You're like, in a big city, you have like big companies, but we really want to make a change, and we really want to make this impact. And this is what we started as soon as the masters. We were like, we don't have time, so we're just gonna push for it, and we're gonna do everything that we can for us to make a change. And if it works, that's amazing. And if it doesn't work, at least we try it. I can always go into the industry. I mean, I can always do that. So yeah.
Yeah.
How?
No, it's very, very interesting, very impressive. There's so much to sort of dig into from what you said. I've got some questions, and it sort of goes off what you said. So where did the whole, your actual, so there's, for example, there's some people who will go to an MSc, or they'll have a particular interest, but it remains an interest, or it's sort of an interest. Whereas with you, it seems much more than an interest. It seems like a passion, right? It seems like something that is driving you to make these life decisions, where you start up a company, where you're in London, where you're basically making all of these life-changing decisions. Where does this passion for the environment actually come from, though? Like, how did that sort of develop? Because I think with young people, as much as young people are trying to be eco-friendly and conscious with their eating, very few seem to be very passionate about it. at least from what you can sort of see online and stuff. It's not like a main talking point. It's gradually become more of that. But obviously it seems that for you, it's been over 6 years. So we're talking maybe 6 years ago, you already had that passion. But how did that sort of come about?
So, I don't know. I guess like I was always, my mom always says like I'm always into the environment since I was like little kid. You know, like we used to, when I was a kid, they burned the waste in Mexico, which is very bad. And when we used to drive through that, I used to cry a lot. And she was like, it's okay, you know, all the environment. Like if I see something related to water, then I do something for me to clean it. Like for example, I can't go to the beach and not pick up the trash. Like even though I'm just going for a walk, I can't. And
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if you have seen this meme of like this dog inside a house like it's burning. That's how I felt.
No, I'm not seeing it.
And
No.
I felt like I needed to do something. Like it's like, yeah, I'm fine. And there's a fire next to me. Like it's
Like urgency.
yes.
Yeah.
So I felt like I can't ignore it. Like you know, like this second sense, like the sixth sense, I don't know
Yeah.
how they call it,
Yeah.
um, was pushing for it. And I was like, I just can't ignore it. And when I really took action, everything has been aligning for me to continue and really make a change. So I'm just basically just make sure that I do my part, and everything else helps me kind of like, if you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do something, but let's do it something properly. Okay, if someone is complaining about the finance, let me go and learn how to fix it for me to then like implement it properly, and then tell companies to actually make a change. Oh, you know what, technology, let me actually learn how to do this machine learning programming for me to actually implement it and do it properly. Like I always say, like if you're gonna do something, do it right or don't do it.
Yeah.
So I guess like I was like, okay, if I'm gonna like care after the planet and do something for it, do it properly, fully, or just don't do it, because things have ways. Maybe that sounds like I'm very intense. Maybe I am very intense, but, but yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think it's definitely that passion that seems to be, that's driving you. And if that passion is intense, then it doesn't seem like it's been an issue so far. So, so it's good. Yeah. So something else I'd like to ask you. So obviously you sort of alluded to the fact that sustainability and the definition behind it sort of varies, right? And sometimes it can become quite of like a buzzword that companies use. We're very sustainable, we're very eco-friendly, yeah, we care about the environment. But for you, and especially for Ecofye, what does sustainability really entail?
It's the balance. So the way that we're defining sustainability, the way that we define it, it's emissions, social impact, and a circular economy. But this is the way that we classify it on the platform. But if you ask us, how do you define sustainability, which is also related to what we study, which is based on the three principles of it, it's people, planet, and profit. So you want to make sure you're helping the local economy, you're boosting the economy that is around whatever you're doing. You want to make sure that you're protecting the environment or minding the environment, whatever you're doing. Like if you want to do a business, just make sure like whatever you do, you're considering it. And the other one, it's the people, that you involve the people, right, in whatever you do. Like it's people related, like it's linked to the society. So in other words, you're not gonna do a project only focusing about the environment, like making a profit, but you also wanna like include the local people in the project for you to make it balanced. So the way that we see sustainability, it's about harmony. It's about balancing these three different things. What
And
about
so,
you? I'm curious to know what's your definition of sustainability. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. It's an interesting one because, I mean, sustainability for me, I guess it sort of becomes something that, the way I sort of visualize it, it's something that you're sort of achieving, or you want to achieve. For example, you want to be more, more conscious with the environment, but how do you do it in a way that it's scalable so that you can consistently do it, right? So it's not like a one-off thing where, yeah, you've been sustainable for this year because maybe you had the extra profit to invest in a more sustainable project. But now, how do you actually keep that project continuously alive? How do you continuously be, eco-friendly and conscious of the environment? So when I at least before this conversation, when I heard sustainable, that's sort of the way I visualized it or thought about it. But obviously with your knowledge, you sort of incorporate these three sort of pillars that make up what it is to be sustainable. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, related to what you're saying, it's again going back to doing the things right, like do them like properly. And if you're gonna like build a company and you're gonna like do it, I don't know, in the middle of the forest or in the middle of whatever, if you consider everything, you're gonna be like strong from the beginning. So you're gonna be like, not like you're gonna be sustainable, not because it's gonna be greener or all these like ESG definitions, but because it's gonna have all this harmony. So nothing is gonna affect anything. So that's what so yeah, no, I agree. It's like doing the things properly in order for you to sustain it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And how have you found that to actually be the case in practice? Because obviously, when you're starting up a business or when you have, obviously the theory that you've been developing over the years and you have sort of an idea of how it could work. Now, once, it comes to practice in actual industry, how have you found, how easy or how difficult has it been to try and help these companies to achieve that balance across those three sort of pillars?
So it's been challenging, especially because people think implementing better practices, it's very expensive. And it's about like just changing a few things. I think companies, sometimes they don't even realize that they're doing something good for the planet and they have no idea. So that when they come to us and they go like, okay, we want to like become better, how do we do it? We just go like, we take some information for us to process it in the platform that we do it now manually, but soon it's going to be automatic, so everybody can be on the platform. But so we process that information and we tell them like, you know what, you can start here, 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 and you have all these different things that you put in the back of your head, but you're doing all these different things. You just need to like put them in structure together for you to align them. But yeah, no, it's very.
Okay.
Go on.
No, I said okay. Yeah, I was like, listening to it. Yeah.
And I think something that we learn, and this is why I'm telling you, everybody has a different definition of sustainability. I remember our first client, we went to them and we're like, okay, we can help you this and this and that, because it's like when you only hang out with people, like the companies, we have someone who is a sustainability analyst and she's amazing. She has these many masters. She knows so much about environmental policies, like economics and all these different things. My co-founder did the same master with me. And he has a background in engineering. So we're like, like just like I did that master as well. And then we have other people that we talk to as well. So you kind of like get like involved in like inside this bubble that when you talk to someone, you go like, yeah, the carbon footprint for you to calculate the emissions in order to offset with carbon credits. And then I remember I said this to my mom one time and she was like, what? And I'm like, planting trees for whatever you do. She's like, oh, I understand that, you know? So when we went to our first client, we were like, okay, we can make you, implement better practices. They were like, we want everything. We want to be the greenest company ever. We're like, okay. We went super big with the proposal. I will never forget it. We were like, okay, and then we're going to save the world. Like it was crazy. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I only wanted this to be biodegradable,
Yeah.
For someone, it's something. And so we always ask, so for example, when we go to our, to the companies, it's like, so how do you imagine your company being sustainable? And then they go, oh, we imagine, I don't know, no plastic in the company. Okay, fine. Then we can do something related to that. And then we do everything else that we can, but still completing achieving the idea of the client that they have with their company. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I think, especially with clients. I think with clients, I work in the consultancy business as well. And I think with something that you learn with clients is that you need to be very specific with the questions that you ask them, so you understand their expectations. Because sometimes, even via emails, things can get just mixed up, and it turns out after a few weeks that what you delivered, it wasn't what they expected; it was something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
crazy.
And so another thing that I wanted to touch on quickly was something that you mentioned, and it's the term carbon credits, right? Now, so for our listeners, for example, so before reading your website, I didn't really even come across the term carbon credits before. So obviously you have more insight into what it is. So could you explain the idea behind carbon credits and also the circular economy? I think you mentioned as well, which I have heard, and it seems I've heard it more in sort of the Latin American sphere of stuff, like recently. Not really in the UK, to be honest, but
Not really in the UK. That's very bad.
no.
The UK is very big.
Yeah, I've not heard it. I've never. The only time I came across circular economy was actually in some interviews in Ecuador, and then I realized that was a thing that's sort of being pushed across Latin America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can explain to you first the carbon credits that I mentioned to you before, and then we can move to the circular economy.
Yeah.
So the carbon credits, let's go like backwards in the topic. Have you ever heard about these like carbon neutral pledges that the countries do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what happened is in the conference of 2015, all these countries got together and they said, you know what, we need to do something in order for us to reduce the amount of emissions we're putting in the atmosphere. Okay, amazing. And then in order for us to do that, we're gonna start taxing the biggest polluter industries in the country. Okay, amazing. So they developed this thing called carbon tax. So big companies are getting a carbon tax. So like emissions, it's like doing your normal accounting, but you do your normal emissions accounting yearly.
All right.
So companies go and say, you know what, this year I'm gonna emit 10 tons of CO2. Okay, good. The government is gonna allow you to emit 10 tons. But next year, in order for the countries to achieve these like emissions reductions, they're gonna give you 8 tons for you to pollute. So you have
Right.
two spare. So the company can decide to invest in innovation in order for them to in the future continue reducing the emissions for them not to be that expensive, or they can buy some offsets, right? Which are the carbon credits. So
Right.
one
Right.
carbon credit is the same as 1 ton of CO2.
Right. Okay.
And it became so it's usually for companies for them to buy the carbon credits, for them to offset their extra emissions, right? To like balance it and like don't pay the taxes that the government is charging them. But
Right.
it became super popular among everyone to now offset their emissions.
Yeah.
So this
That's
is
what I was
why you
thinking.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, this is what you see like in different places like I don't know, this company is carbon neutral, this company is carbon neutral, and
Yeah.
it's because what they're doing is like they calculate how much emissions. This is something that we do as well at Ecofye, and the platform does automatically in 1 month. Amazing. But so we calculate the emissions of the company, and then we buy offsets for them to become carbon neutral.
Okay.
And then when you buy an offset, you buy one carbon credit or as many as you need, depending on what you're doing. So basically, the idea is you put one emission in the atmosphere, you pay this credit in order for someone somewhere to take this emission away. So, for example, an example of a project is reforestation, right? So you give this money to a certified project, certified. This is super important. Make sure they give you a number when you buy the credit. Just don't give money to places that you feel, oh, they're planting trees or they're like whatever. Planting trees is not as easy as people say. You have to
Right.
have biodiversity. You have to manage the land. You have to manage the trees. You have to all these different things. And trees are only efficient for them to clean the air after 30 years. So
Right.
protect the trees rather than plant more because we're running out of time, guys.
Yeah.
But so yeah, what happened is that you give this money to this community. They plant the trees. One project that we have is this: you give the money, they plant the trees. They measure how much like oh these many trees is 1 ton of CO2, so this is one credit. And the trees give them nuts to the community, and the community sells them in order for them to help the push the local economy. So this is
Right.
the balance I'm telling you about. And what is really cool about these certified projects is that they make sure that there is a balance. So they're not just go and plant trees, but they support the community. They push the economy as well, and at the same time they're protecting the forest. But you have to.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds. Oh, I mean, it's definitely cleared things up for me as well, because I think you've put it more into context as well of how it fits in with the whole, you know, like what you were mentioning before of how it affects the people, you know, obviously the business, and also, you know, how you can actually affect the environment as well. And so with circular economy now, how does that sort of come in as well?
So what's happening, the way that we consume usually is in a linear way. So we buy, we use, we dispose, right? And that's
Right.
creating, besides a lot of waste, it's depleting a lot of resources.
Right.
So what the circular economy is doing, it's instead of linear, it's making it circular, right?
Right.
So you can reuse, re-implement, so you don't run out of resources as fast because you're
Right.
mindful that you can reuse them. And but this I'm not talking about like recycling. I'm talking about, let's say you have um, something about a circular economy action would be, you are, I don't know, you have this furniture company and you have leather waste. You can use it for something else or resell it somewhere else in order for someone else to use it. I don't know, a car company, right? So
Right.
they can
Right.
like use it as a recycle thing for their sofas, right? So this is how you implement. There is no need for you to buy a whole thing again or throw that away. It's you're trying to reuse, optimize resources as much as you can.
Right. Right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Cool. So something that I wanted to go into now in sort of this second portion of today's episode is the actual sort of entrepreneurial journey that you've sort of taken, and sort of the challenges, the experiences you sort of come across. So I guess initially, what have you found to be like the biggest challenge in you know, from being a student to now leading a business and to, you know, receiving grants? Because when you receive grants, you obviously have a duty to to sort of fulfill the reason as to why the grant was given. So how have you sort of how have you found it?
I mean, it's challenging, and it's definitely um if ever like someone is listening to whoever is listening to this podcast and decides that they want to go into launch their own company, be sure that you're gonna have a lot of ups, but you're also gonna have a lot of downs. It's,
Yeah.
yes, we got the grant, but we have so many no's as well, and we have this other amazing prize. We won the Lamborghini Future Fab Award for sustainability, which means like we propose the Lamborghini company and how they can become sustainable, and they're gonna be our first beta users for the platform because we propose them to use the platform, right? But we have applied to other things as well, and we have received no's. And I think it's challenging because sometimes you, when you're young, you want this like confident, like kind of like safety thing. You know, like every month you're gonna get a payment.
Yeah.
With entrepreneurship, you don't. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes you get a high payment, or sometimes you don't get a payment. But I still have to run the payroll, so whatever happens. But
Yeah.
but I think it's like, for me, I really really enjoy it
Yeah.
because I think I'm not that patient for change, and for me, I need to push for change. So if I were to work in a big organization, there's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of like decision making, a lot of like systems, and for me, if there is like a change happening, we need to do it quick because life nowadays is becoming faster, and this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
something that I'm not sure like people are realizing. This is with COVID, a lot of people said, okay, yeah, it stopped me and it made me realize about life and all these different things. No, with COVID, things move way faster now. If they're it's pushing people for them to really change on whatever they want to do, like it's also, I mean, I see it also in like my finance friends, right? They used to trade when the market opens, when the market closes. Now with cryptocurrencies, you have to trade the entire time. Like you
Right.
have to have offices here and then somewhere else in the world that catches the time difference for you to like keep an eye on whatever is happening, or it's the time is like faster and faster, and I think changes should be implemented as fast, and
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, but I really really enjoy it. I mean, it's been challenging sometimes. There are things that we don't know, but there's always help. Like we can just call someone. We just, of course, like take courses, research it, and we realize that we know more than what we think we do, because we also have been talking to, like, I don't know, sustainability departments and like the big four, and they're like, oh, I didn't know this, or oh, I didn't know like this and that, because you're talking to people that has been in the industry for, I don't know, 10 years, and the sustainability topic, this like emissions and circular economy and everything that we're like talking about, the masters and courses started like what, 5 years ago. So the
Yeah.
people in the sustainability roles right now in big companies, they usually are people that learn it by doing it, not because
Yeah.
they really do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is also that we realize that we know more than we think we do, and we're using that to our advantage in order for us to push for change.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Also, something that you mentioned was that, for example, with the creation of the platform, you said that, you took your own courses in machine learning to be able to learn how to do that. And it's interesting because I've spoken to a lot of people who want to start, for example, some sort of tech company, but maybe they don't have the software development skills. And so in their mind, the first thing they think is, well, I'm going to have to hire someone who's a software engineer, and obviously software engineers are pretty expensive. But with you, obviously, you've taken the decision, I guess, to say, well, I need to upskill myself. Then I'm not going to see it as a barrier that because I don't have that knowledge, then I'm going to upskill myself and see how it goes. So I think that's a very interesting approach. How did you do you feel like that was something was that some advice that was given to you, or were you just like, no, I mean, there's a barrier here, but I'm going to see how I can just resolve it?
Um, so I don't code, I don't
Yeah.
code, but I know about it. I know like basics of coding, and no, what we do is, if we don't know anything, we learn it. So this is what we do. We don't learn it. I always say I don't do these courses for me to hang them on my wall and be like, hey, look, guys, I graduated from Imperial. I was like,
Yeah.
I need to learn finance. I need to link to climate change. How do I do this? I
Yeah.
need to learn about machine learning and how to make the proper decisions. How do I do this? So you can you look online, you research online, but then at the end of the day, if you take a course, it's faster, more structured, and all these different things. And yeah, and the reason why we did that, I did that, but of course always with the support of my co-founder, is because the learning curve then is less, right? It's like going to the hospital and then you tell the doctor, oh, my leg hurts, and then he goes, okay, I need to make you an X-ray of the head, the arms, the leg, the toes, and then I need to take blood out of you, and then you have no idea what the guy is saying because you have
Yeah.
no idea of medicine, so you're happy to pay for everything. It's the same with like coding. It's the same with like whatever industry you go. It's like you go, I don't know, your car is broken as well, and then the guy wants to like, sell you everything and charge you everything. When you code, it's the same. And you want to make sure that the communication that you do with whoever you're working with and they're doing a project with you, especially for platforms and applications, is clear, right? So this is why
Yeah.
I do the course, to make sure that what we want to achieve and what we are communicating to the guys it's the same. And I realized this because it's the same with sustainability. Like we talked to a client and he goes like, we want to be super sustainable and we want to like, save the planet and we want to like do all these different things. And I'm like, okay, we start with calculating emissions. Like, like you have this idea in your head of something and we need to make it tangible and like action. So whatever your idea of sustainable is, we make sure it's real and it's developed in steps. It's the same with an application. you think about an application, you're like, I want an application that reads, I don't know, people's phone, and then the information that something processed it in this way, and then a bubble appears, and you think about it that way. But the way that it's coded back and fronted, it's a whole different story. So we wanted to understand that in order to avoid um, unnecessary costs, or like
Yeah.
just it's the same as going to the doctor or taking your car to the mechanic. It's like we don't want them to give us all these different things when we don't need them, and was
Yeah.
actually like we want something else. So this is why it's super important. I think like one of my advice would be like for everyone is always read and always prepare yourself, because you always want to be ready for whatever opportunity comes to you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, what have you found to be sort of the big change from, from in terms of actually running the business? Because obviously the running the business is one aspect of it, is the service that you're providing. So that's the client facing aspect. But then all of the other sort of things that entail running the business, how have you found sort of all of that other things like admin, marketing, like you said, payroll, all of these things? How have you found that?
I think that the two things that I found challenging is managing people, and
Right.
and things that you would never imagine, like preparing a pension fund for your employees. You're like, what? That has to be like this,
Yeah.
insurance for the company, for the employees, running a payroll, pay taxes for the company, and then you pay like your personal taxes, and like all these like managerial things that as a like an employee you don't think, right? You wake up one day and you're like, okay, I want to do this project, I'm going to focus on this project, and then we're going to like do all these different things. But there is like this whole different things that you need to manage, like having a balance sheet, making sure you're forecasting your expenses correctly, making sure that the information that you're sending is correctly to, I don't know, the lawyer, that the agreement is in place in order for you to, all these like managerial things, and also managing people, because now you have people with you that you're in the journey together, but they're kind of like your support. So you want to make sure like they stay motivated, they like the project, they all this is something that we super like we're super aware. Maybe I don't know, because we're a young company, but for example, when the tier 4 happened, I noticed the people that work with us start getting like super anxious, and like they couldn't even like see it, and I was like talking to them, and they weren't like focusing on what I was saying, and I
Yeah.
was like, how can I manage this? So now we do yoga every Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to do different things, because the people is who we are. Ecofye is its people. So we want to make sure we're always there for them, and we want to make sure like they're liking their jobs, or if they have any question, we're there for them, and yeah, and it's really fun, because I'm like the super person kind of thing, like the manages everything, like not everything, but like the people, and if you have any question, let me know, whatever. And my co-founder is super technical, super technical. He's like a proper engineer. He has an engineering master, like besides his climate change and finance, and I love him, but I call him like my Lego piece, because he's so square. I'm like, Tiago, and he's like, yeah, Danny, like this and that. But yeah, so I think managing people, it's what really, and then also this insurance and things that you would never think of.
Yeah. Yeah. Based off what you were saying, something I wanted to ask you as well was the co-founder sort of relationship, right? Because a lot of people sometimes want to go into an own business, and they just want to start off themselves for fear of, I don't know, maybe losing control, or being with someone who maybe isn't necessarily, or they just don't, they don't really think that that person can maybe support them on their business journey. How did you, understand or know that your co-founder Tiago was the one that you wanted to sort of build this company up with? And also, how have you found the relationship as well in terms of being a co-founder? Because it's something that you also have to manage, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So initially we were 3 in Ecofye, and
Right.
we did a project together in the summer, and we are we became really good friends. We realized that we work very good together. And this is what gave us the courage to start a company. And also the energy feels right. I don't know how to explain it, but I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
I can mistakenly send Tiago £1 million, and I know he's gonna send them back. I trust him
yeah,
with everything, and I think this is super super important that you can tell them everything, and they're there to support. Like, Tiago, you know what? This happened. What should we do? Give me 1 second. Let me call you. Let me try to sort it out. And it's, you want them to be supportive, and you want them to be there with you and like taking the risk with you. The reason why our third co-founder left is because, as I tell you before, entrepreneurship life is not for everyone. One day you have a lot of money, one day you don't have money. The next day you need to pay you need to run the payrolls, all these different things. And I don't think it was for him. We're still good friends with him, but he talked to us and he was like, you know what, it's just not for me. I can't. I want to do all these different things. So for me, it's better if I just get a job. We're like, okay, but
yeah,
but I think the vibe is super important, and always I like having support from someone. It's really really good because you can bounce ideas and you can like structure it together. Like, as I was telling you, I'm the one who thought about like the machine learning, because I was like, oh my god, everything has AI now. Like, we should like definitely put it because it's just gonna make life easier and like save so much time to. And Tiago is like, Danny, what do you mean? Okay, let's make it work. He's a very technical bit, and I'm the one that throws all the ideas. And I
that
think
is,
this is how we match like really really good as a co-founder. And now I talk to him every day, and like it's nice because you work with him. I have worked with Tiago. I have a very good relationship with Tiago, but at the same time he's my friend, so I can call him
yeah,
and be like, Tiago, you have no idea, I went for dinner yesterday and I don't know what to do with this thing. And Tiago is like, no, it's okay. Okay, by the way, did you check this document that I sent you? It's like,
yeah, yeah,
it's like, yeah, I think
yeah,
if someone has to like, how can they choose a co-founder, is just make sure the vibe is right, the energy, you trust them, which is super important. And also they complement you, because two people doing the same thing, it doesn't, I don't think it will make it stronger, but like different backgrounds will really complement it and make it stronger. I would suggest that.
yeah, yeah. No, that 100%. I think like with any sort of relationship, a lot of it is how you complement each other, and obviously the way you've described it seems like Tiago's very technical and sort of hands-on, and you're very creative. You sort of give that other aspect, and it's so important. Like, I think creativity is such a skill, and it's a skill that's really hard to harness. To be creative, because that's sort of where the vision is born, right? There's a lot of people who are very technical, but the actual vision sometimes comes from the creativeness of the person, of being able to just visualize something and say, oh, maybe this could click, maybe this could work. And from then on, that's when the real work begins. But the actual sort of creative aspect is so important.
Yeah, no, it's really important. But like, I think the way that, because I tell Tiago that he's like my Lego piece, right? Because I am like, Tiago, you're so square. He says like I'm an explosion of colors. Like, if someone looks inside my brain, it would be like just like of colors, and just, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it's really nice. Like, it's a nice match of co-founders, and I think, yeah, creativity is important, but you need to also be able to communicate it properly to your
of course.
co-founder. Because like, I've been having days that I'm just like, yeah, and then we can do this, and he's like, no, Danny, I don't think that's feasible. I'm like, okay, what about we start here? He's like, okay, we can start there, because
Yeah,
then you go too far, but then the technical side of him is like, okay, but just wait, maybe we should structure this before and then move to this one. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So one final question before we enter sort of the last questions, and something that may interest some of the listeners is, what is the typical day in the life of Daniela and the sort of entrepreneur sort of lifestyle? Obviously it's not necessarily as easy or as glamorous as sometimes it's portrayed online. But for you, what is typically a day in the life? What does it consist of mainly?
And I think this question is so important, because what's happening in social media, it's not reality.
Yeah,
It's people think like, oh, like you did this and you did that, and it's so nice. I mean, it's very nice, and I'm super proud of this, but at the same time, it is like it is a challenge every day. Like it's every day I wake up around 8, and then I go straight to my emails. Like I think now I stretch before I just to like wake up and like grab my phone,
Yeah.
grab the phone, get on the computer, start doing like at the beginning I always do like managerial things. I always just pay, yeah, it's just like send, yeah, it's just like organize, yeah, it's like do I have to pay, like is this delayed payment, or all this like business kind of thing. And in the afternoon I start doing projects and working on the project, see who I need to call, so like who I need to contact, and but then sometimes it can go from like 8 to 10 or 8 to 2 a.m. and
Yeah.
it's crazy because it's just sometimes so much, and then I do that for like 3 days, and then one day I'm like I can't even like I just need one day break, and then I do that again, and you always work on the weekends as well. Like as the
Mm.
entrepreneur, you do work on the weekends, and you work when you're abroad. You work the entire time because it's kind of like your baby, so you're there
Of
the
course.
entire time. So sometimes people are like, why are you like on your phone? I'm like, I need my phone, I need 5 minutes, I need to like organize these different things, I need to like talk to my team, I need to see how everything is going, and then I can like rest. But yeah, no, it's intense. And even though
Yeah.
you might see my Instagram and be like, oh, Daniela was on holiday. No, Daniela was working even though she wanted to be on holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I agree with you. I think on social media, there's very much a sort of from like being an entrepreneur is very romanticized,
Yeah.
and sort of the images, and I think sort of the sort of the narrative behind it is yeah, it's very romanticized, and obviously some people can, I guess, be inspired mostly because of the lifestyle rather than the actual passion that is driving the person to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as it can be nice to maybe be an entrepreneur, there's a lot of challenges, like you mentioned. It's not easy, and you have to have that passion to do it every day.
Yeah, you have to have the passion for you to do it every day. I mean, I love what I do. I love what I do. But for example, during the lockdown, my time for myself is going to the gym. Like this is how I take the stress out. So
Hmm.
gyms were closed. So I was going for walks. I was like trying to take at least 1 hour because sometimes because everything is closed and you're just at home, you forget. And this is the time the my working hours was just like long, from eight
Yeah,
to ten, from eight to I don't know 12. And like you're watching a movie, you get an email, then you still answer. You something because you don't disconnect. But now
yeah.
that the gyms are now open and like life is going slowly back to normal, it's nicer to disconnect, and I think like that also has helped like productivity. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So finally, just to sort of wrap up now, it's been a good chat. What would you say you sort of where do you see or where do you hope to see Ecofye? Maybe 5, 10 years down the line.
I hope it's gonna help a lot of companies to achieve better practices and really provide them the solutions that they want. Like I really hope Ecofy makes a change in our today world. Like if you see this company, they can still do whatever they love. So if it's a coffee company, if it's a water company, if it's whatever type of company, a car company, they still do what their passion is, but just better. I really hope Ecofy can help companies to really implement the change, to boost circular economy, to really reduce the emissions and everything that is like concerning us that really is causing climate change. That really, and I and what I really really hope, and I don't know if I will be able to see this, is see the impact that we created, like the positive impact. See like I don't know, the communities better if like the companies, the people. We want to make an impact, and I want to see that impact. I want to be like, oh, you see this, they changed the way they do that because we tell them to do that, and now it's better because this happened.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see this community now, it's engaged because the way that we communicate with the suppliers, and it's like that, and then they have now a local school. I don't know, but I really want to see that change, and I really hope we achieve it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely seems like the project is in good hands, and
Hopefully.
in yeah, and in young hands as well, which is good because you have the time to hopefully see everything that you're sort of aspiring to see. Okay, so last question is for those who are aspiring to start up their business, to be an entrepreneur, and maybe like in your case, maybe their final year of university, BSc, MSc, whatever it may be. What would be your piece of advice, your sort of golden rule that you've learned so far for those people who are aspiring to start their own business?
I think work has to be fun. Make sure that whatever you do, you're having fun because you want to enjoy what you do. And that's another thing. Enjoy what you do. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing the best of what you can do and enjoy the process. And if you think your career doesn't exist, but you still want to do something that you're not too sure, just go and look for the skills for you to match it. Like and just go slowly, and just be super patient because you do need to be patient.
Okay, thank you for that, Daniela. Any final words? Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I'm like Daniela Olson, so they can find me anywhere. Of course, everybody can like drop me a message. Also, my email is daniela.olson@Ecofye. If everybody, like, if someone wants to ask me something, or we're gonna start recruiting hopefully in July. So if someone wants to join the company, do something else in the meantime for the summer, let me know, and we will be happy to hear. And I think my final sentence would be just do the best thing that you can and have hope, because we need hope and we need action. So I would ask people to stay hopeful and stay active.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, to be able to learn about your story. There's a lot there, and with time, obviously, with the time constraints we have, it's not really, I think we could go on for quite much more longer. But it's been good. It's been good for anyone who who's interested in looking up your company. It's Ecofye, which is spelled ECOFYE, just in case. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, Daniela, and everyone. Thank you for listening. Until next time, it's Diego. Bye bye.
Thank you.